It touches your genitals, the glands, the stronger also. It touches your skeleton, your bones. You see, cesium it touches your metabolism and your muscles. And the worst of all is plutonium. Plutonium is attacking everything. It attacks the most. You see obnoxious? The most obnoxious, you know. And you know it actually lasts 24,000 years.
So, but what do you answer to those people who say we need it for industry and we need it for the light?
I say follow Hitler. Do practice autarky. Practice autarky. Kick into the garbage can all the politicians we have now, and everything will be solved. That's what's it really.
Yeah. Also, a kind of a deadly enemy of drugs, you know, the meaning of the, like hallucinogens.
Of course, nothing to say. Everybody knows that drugs kill people and makes them really rubbish.
Yeah, and why is it so prevalent today?
Why? It's because the young people, first, two reasons, and they are very clear to understand. First of all, the food they eat, I mean the materialistic food, normal food, is totally deprived of essential elements like vitamins, like everything you want, which are absolutely necessary for the balance of human beings. What I've talked about, for instance, of vitamin E, which you find in whole wheat bread, in good brown bread, or in good vegetables, which are not maybe in our market, but which grow in your garden. Well, first of all, so they've got a body which is lacking in the most important elements, which is, of course, their brain is touched, because there is no brain, there is no space without body. If your brain is in a bad state, if your brain is not balanced, you've got bad ideas, and you're entirely frustrated. If you are frustrated, you suffer. If you suffer, you try not to suffer. And if you try not to suffer when you have nothing, no ideas, and when you have bad food, you try to find something to not to suffer. It's drugs. It's drugs, that's all.
And do you count alcohol amongst that? Do you count alcohol amongst that?
Yes, alcohol is even tobacco.
The maximum? Yes. Well, it was certainly informative. I want to thank you very much. I have only known you through correspondence, telephone conversations. And now finally I've met you. I appreciate the help.
I was very glad to meet you. And as far as truth is concerned, you can always find me to help you.
Thank you ever so much.
Even if your child is not, does not agree.
3 parts.
Especially if your child.
Ladies and gentlemen, the very word secrecy is repugnant.
Okay, let's that one, JFK.
Read it out. Just pause it.
Okay. Or shall I go back one to read what?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back. Hitler will emerge from the hatred that surrounds him now as one of the most significant figures who ever lived. He had a mystery about him in the way that he lived and in the manner of his death that will live and grow after him. He had in him the stuff of which legends are made. That was John F. Kennedy, President of the United States.
That was a quote of his, was it?
That was a quote of his.
You
yes.
never hear that one.
No. Hitler is one of the greatest men. The old trust him, the young idolize him. It is the worship of a national hero who has served his country. That was David Lloyd George, Prime Minister and statesman, Great Britain. Was right. Sir Hartley Shawcross, 1984, British Attorney General, Senior Nuremberg Prosecutor. In 15 years that have followed this result, he has succeeded in restoring Germany to the most powerful position in Europe. And not only has he restored the position of his country, but he has even to a very great extent reversed the results of the Great War. Whatever else may be thought about these exploits, they are certainly among the most remarkable in the whole history of the world. Winston Churchill, Prime Minister and statesman, Great Britain. Thousands of Americans, Englishmen and Frenchmen have visited Germany during the months after the National Revolution and were able to testify as eyewitnesses that there is no country in the world where law and order are better maintained than in present-day Germany, that there is no country in the world where person and property are held in better respect than in our own, but that there is perhaps also no country in the world where a more rigorous fight is put up against those who believe that they are free to let loose their lower instincts to the detriment of their fellow beings. That's Adolf Hitler, and of course he was referring to the Jews. After 1945, Hitler was accused of every cruelty, but it was not in his nature to be cruel. He loved children. It was an entirely natural thing for him to stop his car and share his food with young cyclists along the road. Once he gave his raincoat to a derelict plodding in the rain. At midnight, he would interrupt his work and prepare the food for his dog, Blondie. That was Belgian 55 Senator Pura Leon de Grelle. While in prison, Hitler wrote, "We have not broken down classes in order to set new ones in their place. We have broken down classes to make way for the German people as a whole. Our education also trains men to respect intellectual achievement. We bring one to respect the spade, another to respect the compass or the pen. All now are but German fellow countrymen, and it is their achievement which determines their value. What is necessary is to teach each class and profession the importance of the others. All together form one mighty body, labourer, peasant, and professional man." Adolf Hitler. That's what he learned while he was in Vienna, observing. He was down there amongst the peasants and observed the Habsburgs. He lived it, he breathed it. Hunger was his companion for 5 years.
Well, see, I'm a Habsburg as well.
Yes.
And Hitler was a Rothschild. Solomon Rothschild. That's why he got out. Solomon died. Oh shit. Till the offspring. We're wrong.
Adolf introduced the standard 40-hour work week in Europe. Overtime work was now compensated at an increased rate which was done nowhere else on the continent at the time. And because the 8-hour workday was now the norm, overtime work became more readily available. Larger factories had to provide rest areas, cafeterias, proper dressing rooms, and even playing fields or swimming pools. Even concerts. Concerts in German factories. Amazing. By the end of Adolf Hitler's first year in office, unemployment had fallen from 6 million to 3,374,000. An unprecedented 2,627,000 jobs had been created at a time when the rest of the world was in recession. The nation does not live for the sake of the economic system.
Listen to this, will you? I'm doing this thing that I've done uploaded. I think Joel's already done. But as you're saying that, I'm following saying the same thing. And as it's talking about Hitler, this is talking about Kennedy. As it's talking about Kennedy, it's talking about Hitler. Right? Now, it gets to this point. The Jewish people who seek peace and welcome home the Palestinians can remain. Those who do not will be tried by Iran and dealt with. In a trial situation, I will defend them on the basis of their genetic and religious insanity. Carry on.
Okay, the nation does not live for the sake of the economic system, and the economic system does not exist for the sake of capital. On the contrary, capital is the servant of the economic system, and the economic system is the servant of the people.
Right, this one is understanding the Quran is a corruption of Muhammad's truth, which I assure you all, of all religions, the Quran denies him by obsession and denies Isaiah, Daniel, and the prophets of the Old Testament, as all are intertwined deliberately by myself to reveal a miraculous connection to each other by righteousness. The Torah itself is not, nor ever has been, a truth of past history, an abomination without end. The prophecies of Daniel. Then it goes on to the Daniel's 2300-day code. So we have the long mystified the Christian scholars as they are consumed by the entire Bible, unable to separate the fucking obvious. I spoke the words of Isaiah and the prophets from the abomination that makes desolate the Torah. I remind you, the Jewish community believing they are God's chosen, when Isaiah said, on my bequest, chosen Persia via King Cyrus, giving him all the kingdoms of the world. The book of Daniel, I will now explain. Which gets into my date of birth. Carry on.
He has a supreme intellect. I have known only 2 other men to whom I could apply. Go back. Could apply such distinction, Lord Northcliffe and Lloyd George. If one puts a question to Hitler, he gives an immediate, brilliant, clear answer. There is no human being living whose promise on important matters I would trust more readily. He believes that Germany has a divine calling, and that the German people are destined to save Europe from the revolutionary attacks of communism. He values family life very highly, whereas communism is its worst enemy. He has thoroughly cleansed the moral and ethical life of Germany. That was Harold Harmsworth, 1st Viscount Rothermere in Britain.
Now I've got this one here. As all things righteous are mine, all things hinge on my physical existence, but they can't kill me. On September the 18th, 2012, the Julian day was 2456188. So we're looking for the 8s, right? Counting back 2300 days was June the 2nd, 2006, Julian day 2453888. 888 is Jesus in Greek Gematria. At that time I had yet to upload anything onto the YouTube. My first upload was December the 20th, 2006, which was my youngest stepdaughter Rhiannon's 27th birthday. So, 2018 days later, the solar system crossed the equator of the Milky Way galaxy. During that time, the beast was zeroing in on the overcoming me by stepping up the mass murders of all people. The reason is not spoken about by any Christian or Muslim. The Jews' masters at stirring up both Antichrist groups, the Christians who have their Zionist Freemason Bibles, and the Muslims their Zionist Quran, with its denial of Jesus as God, death on the cross, and imagined father incapable of having a son, not counting them, of course. The day before, Ashra uploaded my latest video, the 19th, here, the 18th in Europe and the USA. I had looked at the book of Daniel, never reading it through. I was spontaneously so with that in mind. The Julian day number 2453888 had come and gone. June the 2nd, 2006. I calculated to September the 18th, the date I had handed the PowerPoint to Ash to edit. Having hands like dinner plates, I often make a typo and never look back as I type very quickly. Thursday, 20th September 2012, in our usual shopping venture at the Salvation Army Opportunity Shop. Incidentally, a great racket. People donate all sorts of goods. They also have volunteer staff, all cash it to the Zionist charity coffers, of course. What a fucking Ponzi. At home, I started another PowerPoint. Rhiannon, my stepdaughter, was reborn in Geelong. The sunrise to sunset was 888 minutes. April 1st, 2008, Ashra telephoned me at 2:19 p.m, which is a cockcrow. She's good at that. Greek 219, that was 669 days after Julian Day 888. Hebrew is 669, Ephraim, Australia. And there's the times, the June the 2nd, 2006 to April 1st, 2008. 669 days, which is 95 weeks, which is days, April 4th, plus 4/7 of the day. So you work out what time it is, they give you a star directly above it. S'il vous plaît. That's how it works. So I sort of was getting into a point of barrage of undeniable wonderments that no human being can comprehend it. And I'm just getting warmed up. Like that ain't God ever said, right? Like I've got a sense of humour. I married Eileen, didn't I? Oh, man. The Queen's Passage is 1521.7914p, and to the far wall 1727.8573. This identifies India and the Vedas, which is Hinduism. The word Veda means angels. Said backwards, isn't it?
Yeah, spelled backwards, isn't it?
Yeah. The pyramid is the altar to the Lord, a Bible truth of far beyond man's comprehension, constructed by descendants of Noah who can only be understood by accepting the fact that you have been dumbed down by religions and its corruption in book form, the cause of relentless suffering. The young who have stepped back see the clear eyes religion is of the devil. This is why I said, as Jesus, knowledge will be increased, meaning computers' availability to discern scholarly corruptions easily sorted out by truth. So, this is already up there. Now, the next stuff I've got, see if I can get out of here, is the one I've been doing last now. How do you stop it? Let's stop.
Is that the recorder?
No, the one I've been playing. It's supposed to be crazy. Imagine you are in Egypt 4,900 years ago, a barren, rocky plain before you. You are of the lineage of Noah. His name means knowledge. Your task is to build a building so precise no modern nation could duplicate it, let alone build or understand it. Now it's gone blank. That's attack. All right, so we're going to close that one down.
What I've got is the original PowerPoint I've been working on, which has for some reason been switched off.
What do you got?
We're going to watch this tonight. We have to watch this dog. What are we doing?
Put it on now.
Yeah.
Let's switch this thing on.
Which machine did we put it on that says it won't play?
Yours.
So we need yours to do it.
Yeah, precisely. I'm just still trying to shut this thing down. Oh dear, now what?
Do you want me to read this bit before it does?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I'm not worthy to speak aloud about Adolf Hitler, and his life and work do not invite sentimental words. He was a warrior for mankind and a herald of the gospel of justice for all nations. He was a reformative figure of the highest rank, and it was his historic fate that he had to work in a time of unprecedented baseness, which in the end brought him down. Thus, I suppose, must the ordinary West European look upon Adolf Hitler, and we, his close followers, now bow our heads before his mortal shroud. They were the words of Knut Hansen, Norwegian writer and Nobel Prize winner upon the death of Adolf Hitler, May 1st, 1945. I believe in the holy German people inside and outside the German frontiers. I believe in Adolf Hitler, who by the grace of God was sent to give the German people faith in themselves once more.
You just move the thing so I can see what the title of this one is. Oh, just the mouse.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Rudolf Hess, deputy leader of the Instadt, September 1945. 44. It is necessary that I should die for my people, but my spirit will rise from the grave, and the world will know that I was right. Amazing. David Ben-Gurion assassinated Kennedy.
قتل بن غوريون كينيدي بسبب قرار كينيدي وضع مفاعل بيمونة تحت الرقابة لمنع إنتاج أسلحة نووية.
بن غوريون هو الذي قتل كينيدي الآن؟
بن غوريون أصدر أمر باغتيال كينيدي وأنا مسؤول عن كل كلمة. وتحالفت الموساد مع المافيا الأمريكية، وبعد ما أدوارد قتل كينيدي أرسلوا له موساد اسمه روبي يهودي قتله، وقتلوا الموساد 22 شاهد من شهود وأغلق الملف. وأنا أتحدى أن ينشر الملف. حتى الآن رغم مرور السنين ما نشر بضغط صهيوني يهودي. أنبه أكرر أنبه الأجهزة الأمريكية التي تنام كالCIA والFBI بأن هنالك مخطط ماشي على الأرض لاغتيال أوباما، وأن المجموعة التي ستحاول اغتيال أوباما هي مجموعة يمنية باسم القاعدة ولكنهم يهود يمنيين.
هذا كان من أين استقيت هذه المعلومات؟ من أين استقيت كل هذه المعلومات؟
أنا حر.
يعني
أنا مسؤول عن
كل أسرار الكون بصدر شريف.
أنا مسؤول عن كل كلمة أقولها، وإذا مهتمين يجي
Interesting. Joel? Yeah. Just come here again. Okay, this was, I just clicked on this, Memory TV. This is current. This guy's saying that it was the Jews that killed
قتل بن غوريون كينيدي بسبب قرار كينيدي وضع مفاعل بيمونة تحت الرقابة لمنع إنتاج أسلحة نووية.
بن غوريون هو الذي قتل كينيدي الآن؟
بن غوريون أصدر أمر باغتيال كينيدي وأنا مسؤول عن كل كلمة. وتحالفت الموساد مع المافيا الأمريكية، وبعد ما أدوارد قتل كينيدي أرسلوا له موساد اسمه روبي يهودي قتله، وقتلوا الموساد 22 شاهد من شهود وأغلق الملف. وأنا أتحدى أن ينشر الملف. حتى الآن رغم مرور السنين ما نشر بضغط صهيوني يهودي. أنبه أكرر أنبه الأجهزة الأمريكية التي تنام كالCIA والFBI بأن هنالك مخطط ماشي على الأرض لاغتيال أوباما، وأن المجموعة التي ستحاول اغتيال أوباما هي مجموعة يمنية باسم القاعدة ولكنهم يهود يمنيين.
هذا
جربتهم.
هذا كان يقول من اين استقيت
أنا أعطيك خبر
من
من
اين استقيت كل هذه المعلومات؟
أنا حر.
يعني
أنا مسؤول عن
هل تملك كل اسرار الكون بسرها شريف؟
أنا مسؤول عن كل كلمة أقولها، وإذا مهتمين يجي
So let's do a little paste that around. I didn't even know what the upload date is. Let me. That was uploaded on May 18th, 2010. Now there was that
still in
plot.
motion.
Yeah, because they talked about that plot. The three that died recently, supposed to have been a group planning Obama's assassination.
Right.
3 military. But I've heard that before, the Israeli connection.
To JFK.
To JFK. Of course, I've been done that a lot. But anyway, yeah, so let's put that one up and around the circuit and revise it.
What was the title of that one?
Memory, MEMRI, Jews killed Kennedy.
Download that one.
Oh, now Gaddafi's talking about the same thing, apparently. Al Jazeera TV, June 11, 2008. Israel need not apologize for the assassination or destruction of those who seek to destroy it. The first order of business for any country is protection of its people. Huh? That was from the Washington Jewish Week, 1997, October 9th.
لا تختلف أبدا. وثبت أن
it has been proven that there is no democracy in the world. Rather, it is a dictatorship no different than the dictatorships of Hitler and Napoleon. Mussolini, Genghis Khan, Alexander the Great, and the rest of the tyrants. In the days of crazy Reagan, the American president issued a presidential order to launch a war against Libya, for example. A presidential order to besiege Libya, to boycott Libya, and so on. Is this a democracy or a dictatorship? There are elections in America now. Along came a black citizen of Kenyan African origins, a Muslim. Who had studied in an Islamic school in Indonesia. His name is Obama. All the people in the Arab and Islamic world and in Africa applauded this man. They welcomed him and prayed for him and his success. And they may have been involved in legitimate contribution campaigns. To enable him to win the American presidency. But we were taken by surprise when our African Kenyan brother, who is an American national, made statements that shocked all his supporters in the Arab world, in Africa and in the Islamic world. We hope that this is merely an elections clearance sale, as they say in Egypt. In other words, merely an elections lie. As you know, this is the farce of elections. The person lies and lies to people just so they will vote for him, and afterwards when they say to him, you promised this and that, he says, no, that was just elections propaganda. This is the farce of democracy for you. He says this was propaganda and you thought I was being serious. I was fooling you to get your vote. Allah willing, it will turn out that this was merely elections propaganda. Obama said he would turn Jerusalem into the eternal capital of the Israelis. This indicates that our brother Obama is ignorant of international politics and is not familiar with the Middle East conflict. We thought he would say, I have decided that if I win, I will monitor the Dimona nuclear plants in order to find out about the nuclear bombs and other weapons of mass destruction in Israel's concession. We expected him to make such a decision, and he undoubtedly had this in mind. When he talked about Iran and its nuclear program, he undoubtedly had Dimona in mind. But when he was thinking about Dimona, he undoubtedly had the fate of former President Kennedy on his mind as well. Kennedy decided to monitor the Dimona nuclear plant. He insisted on doing so in order to determine whether or not it produces nuclear weapons. The Israelis refused, but he insisted. This crisis was resolved with the resignation of Ben-Gurion. He resigned
No, just 1 second. Obama, he quoted Psalms 46. Remember I said I've saved his life because I saved his kids from being tortured to death?
Yeah.
He's a sacrifice.
Mm.
And I said, you can stay if you do the right thing.
Mm.
Now they're trying to kill him.
Mm.
Hey, we have a winner here. I said, go ahead, kill him.
Mm.
See if you can.
Mm.
I told him he's staying there.
Yeah.
So the 46th letter into Psalms 46 is shake, and coming back the other way, 46 from the end of Psalm 46 is spear.
Yeah.
Edward de Vere.
He gave the green light to the killing of Kennedy. Kennedy was killed because he insisted on the monitoring of the Dimona plant. This is what the other guy was saying. This image was undoubtedly on Obama's mind. He undoubtedly wanted to talk about this, but decided not to. We expected him to say, if I win, I will implement the one-state solution. The Isra team, which appears in Gaddafi's White Book, this idea constitutes the final different and historic solution. It is impossible to establish two midget states in this area. What kind of country is only 15 kilometers deep? The so-called Israel is only 15 kilometers deep. What kind of country is this? There are 5 million Palestinians there. We expected Obama to say, I've decided to return millions of Palestinian refugees to the land of Palestine, from which they were expelled in 48 and 1967. This is the change that the people applaud. The change that the American people want and the black people in America want. We expected him to say, I will strive for the independence and unity of the Kurdish nation. This nation must take its place under the sun in the Middle East. The Kurdish nation is torn apart, tormented and persecuted, and is colonized by everyone. He should have supported it instead of supporting the collaborators, while sacrificing the future of the Kurdish nation. This is change. The thing we fear most is that the black man suffers from an inferiority complex. This is dangerous. Our brother Obama feels that because he is black, he doesn't have the right to rule America. This would be a disaster. Because such a feeling would make him behave whiter than the white, and go to an extreme in his persecution and degradation of the blacks. We say to him, brothers, the whites and blacks in America are equal. They are all immigrants. America belongs neither to the whites nor to the blacks. America belongs to its original inhabitants, the Indians. Both the whites and blacks immigrated to America, and so they are equal. And Obama has the right to hold his head high and say, I'm a partner in America, this is my land as much as it is yours. It is not my land if it is not yours either. It is the land of the Indians. You are immigrants, and so are we. We still hope that this black man will take pride in his African and Islamic identity and in his faith, and that he will know that he has rights in America and that he will change America from evil to good. And that America will establish relations that will serve it well with other peoples, especially the Arabs. Interesting.
Mm. So he's saying what the other fellow is saying. What's the other fellow, Italian?
Yeah, he was, I think, Jewish.
Jewish.
Well, that's what he looked like, sounds like.
Mm.
He had 2 missing fingers, like he's being tortured, fingers cut off.
Mm.
And it's memory TV.
Brilliant stuff.
Mm.
This one's talking now as I go through Africa the first time. Watching Africans, learning, talking to them, feeling compassion for them. Hank, who's now dead.
Yes.
Talking about the malaria larvae is easily killed. This is thanks to the man who invented MMS1, Jim Humble. Now there's a mosquito called the Toxophiniscites, also called elephant mosquito, which I talked to about that cousin of Lammy's in the laboratory. And I was telling him there is a mosquito. He said, and he mentioned it, and he knew it. And I said, why aren't you using it? That's the one that gives everyone elephantitis and malaria. Not allowed to. So just go through, and then you type in, it's showing how to type in and find the AIDS patent, Gallo. Then it goes into the Boyd E. Graves, who got the timeline together.
Yeah.
Because it cost him his life. He was appearing before the very people who were suing to see if he's got a case or not. How convenient is that?
Excuse me.
Right. So we go into Donald Scott, a beautiful man that wrote this. Even got to Nexus magazine. Talking about the pattern for the mycoplasma.
Oh yeah, Ash, what was that too?
name wrote that?
Scott. Professor Scott.
David Irving.
The mycoplasma.
Oh, mycoplasma, Donald W. Scott.
Donald Scott.
Yeah, mycoplasma weaponized. Or the weaponization of mycoplasma.
Yeah.
He says, let me put this in lay language for those who would like to have it translated. Every living organism that reproduces itself has to give its successor characteristics of itself, and in every cell there is a complete blueprint for your body in the DNA. The blueprint contains the colour of your eyes and all your characteristics. Certain types of insects and bacteria don't have DNA. They have a single strand called RNA. That RNA is the blueprint for the disease's bacteria or the disease virus. This is Dr. Scott, Professor Scott. HIV, human immunodeficiency virus, has a single strand of RNA and cannot reproduce itself. It has to get into another cell that has DNA, and it uses that cell's DNA and takes that cell over. When the document says RNA directed, it means that some microscopic organism from some bacteria accesses the cell of the victim and then takes over the DNA of that victim and then tells the DNA to make more of the original RNA HIV. We are pretty sure that it starts off with brucellosis as the bacteria, and they have a method of putting that into a crystalline. The reality is Professor Scott is unaware the germ warfare scientists are worldwide. The method of putting the mycoplasma into the crystalline form was discovered in the late 1800s, and by early 1900 was being introduced to the food chain via wheat. The first actual use was in tobacco. Tobacco is an addictive, cheap and roll-your-own tobacco which passes the microscopic 300 nanometer long mycoplasma into the fingers, and then you wipe your eyes and on it goes. It remains there until triggered. The particle of the bacterial DNA and RNA is called a mycoplasma. It is just a particle of the bacterial DNA, and they learn how to remove the particular RNA element from the bacteria in crystalline form and put it into people, and that had to be by fluid transfer. So, vaccines, blood or semen could carry a sufficient concentration of mycoplasma that it would activate RNA-directed DNA. In other words, it would allow the foreign particle to take over the living organism cell and make more of the foreign particle. The HIV, human immunology deficiency virus, had to be made in a laboratory, and it was made from the virus of sheep's brains. The disease in sheep is called Visna virus, which occurs naturally in sheep, but it has never until 1970 had the ability to infect the brains of human beings until it was altered by researchers to become a human virus called human T-cell leukemia or lymphoma virus 3. Now I put in here a photograph of Royal Rife, which actually has taken away a bit of the writing. But he's basically saying that he was able to see the crystal and thought he had discovered it. It's a natural occurring thing, when in actual fact what he discovered was the conspiracy.
Well, that's right. Well, yeah, because they were doing that before the 1900s.
Right, so they put a Jew in to take over his company and he ruined it.
Well, they destroyed it.
Yeah, they did. But they immortalised it, so he was right, that's the whole point. If he was being successful, he wouldn't have made it. It wouldn't have been true.
That's right.
So they invent ways to trigger it. TV, radio, music, all forms of microwaves. Then the cell phones made it a lot easier as kids talk for hours on a phone. Had the wonderful men been aware of the depths of evil like Rife, what he had discovered was man-made, not a natural occurring crystal. It was the work of Boyd Graves and independently Dr. Robert Beck, who were curing AIDS with silver. Dr. Beck used an electrical 4 Hz DC current through the wrist to kill the germs, pathogens and viruses. In Germany, ozone was being used to kill AIDS. I registered a company named in Melbourne, Electro Health, developing colloidal silver bars for the chronically ill who would sit in the bath, listen to classical music, and the music ideal for human health. That's what the cure centre was being. You're going to have people sit in bars for the really chronically ill and have nice music played through the water. The patients with wrist electrified and drinking colloidal silver in ionized water. One treatment and cured. Bingo. Later, Jim Humble discovered MMS1, which worked well but no good for natives in the highlands of New Guinea, as it was a long process over a week or more. Then he told me about the latest MMS2 available in every swimming pool shop worldwide. Calcium hypochlorite. One capsule we found cures all, including diabetes 2. Currently we are testing diabetes 1 with a new approach and thus far is successful. My nephew Graves and Beck were murdered. I received a call from a senator in Canberra asking if I was the man saying he was Christ. I replied, yes. He said, those above us will kill you. I replied, well, they have tried many times before. One wonders what he thought. If the same gent is watching me still, they missed me and got my nephew. When my nephew and I were looking for a site, I set up at the clinic. A realtor arranged for us to view a shop at 122 Hoddle Street, the main drag in Melbourne. Hundreds of thousands drove past in the city daily. Very, very popular spot where people murder each other. Michael was impatient, so 3 hours ahead of the appointment, we knocked on the door. Brian answered. Said he had not cleaned up yet. We said, no worries, but I have a disgusting attraction for homosexuals. He smiled and let us in, thinking I was one of his new whatsies, right? Walking through the rooms at the back, it was absolutely disgusting. Later, I told my nephew there was no way I was going to lease this demon-filled brothel. The walls contained smells and memories of the activities. Next door was a vacant building. We found out the owner and leased it. Next door, Brian left a note on the glass door. Moved to 58 Hoddle Street. This is the local shop that sells pornography. Shortly after the call from the senator, 2 thugs pulled up, saw the sign, went to find Brian, killed one man, seriously injuring another, causing brain damage. Then the cover story surfaced. Disgruntled homosexual kills man in sexual adult shop, found guilty, etc. However, I warned my nephew to watch his back, but being an atheist looked upon me as an obsessed religious mental case, and after a fight, he, a 3-time world kickboxing champion, we parted ways. He continued with the clinic, was shot dead after assassins sat outside his home for 30 days. The police had bugged the van. They knew the known killers had been set up by the police. This one guy was known for killing a person and then running a vast distance, because it's actually faster than driving, and you don't have a car, and outrun the police by running. At the police had bugged the van. They told me they thought the men were going to hit the BMW dealer down the street. I told them the men should have hit the tuck shop. At the school, they have more cash than a BMW dealer. The point is, the Zionist Freemasonry have known about me for 60 years. They knew what I did in Canada and were poised to kill me once again. The previous 5 attempts had failed, but the Australians, they thought they could not miss. The cure of cancer, diabetes 2 and a host of diseases Royal Reich found, the acidic levels of the environment where the cancer takes root must be low in pH. Therefore, up the pH with bicarbonate of soda taken every day in the maple syrup will eliminate the cancer as it feeds off sugar. Therefore, avoid all sugars. It is also important to cook with coconut oil and not soy or canola and the like. The ones at convenient height in supermarkets. These oils are basically plastic. The main cause of diabetes 2, do not drink fluoride or clean your teeth with it. And no vaccinations. Moon hoax as usual. So I go on with that. How they spelt out and then send letters to each other, congratulating each other, how they'd taken the flag of Lucifer to the moon. Then it's got the Apollo lunar landings. When you add all of the longitudes, it spells out devil. Then you've got the Holy Bible, Freemasonry. Then I said, you might as well put Baphomet on it as well. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Then I show the world map, why I was in Chingola, how the man that was working with me, Samuel, is an angel. Told him about how the gliders could fly above the Chingola mine. The big open wind would come down, up, and that flying bits come around. And he said, oh, you won't man it too much. Then he asked me about going to the moon. Like, the plane is held up by hot air. He assumed they could go to the moon like that on the hot air. And I said, well, in fact, they were. Hot air. All hot air. So you got Washington sitting there with Baphomet beside him doing the same symbol. Freemason. God Lucifer. The devil. So prior to a permit granted to enter Zambia, I had been urged. I had a little 8-month-old baby with me. Take Africa. I won £1,000, which is enough to buy a Jaguar car, but instead of that I toured the country, examining everything. Well, Eileen, what she's doing is unbelievable. Finally, I come home one day and she got Tracy tied to a tree. She'd been entertaining her boys and was exhausted after the exploits. And sometimes the baby would witness it. So she found it better, because the men, I suppose, felt a bit awkward with the baby watching. This is the evil of the sin that I had to marry. So next thing she tells me, we get down to it, that she wants to go back to Australia. I said, oh, I'll take Tracy, give you the money to go to Australia, see you later. So we said, all right. Go down to the lawyer, as we're going to see the lawyer, or coming from the lawyer, I forget. In a cafe. Then these boys come in, and thinking I'm just one of the guys, right? Tracy sort of always wandering about, talking to her in a familiar way, which I've seen before in our operation, in the dance halls in Lithgow. I mean, she's terrifically polluted slut of a person. She's unreal. And it's relentless. And she finally tells me after we're back in Australia that she's pregnant. Hey, what's the chance of being mine? Not the point, is it? The point is, I looked after the baby. Now when the baby was born in Lithgow, I was at the hospital. I didn't go in. Didn't go in the first one either. I'm horrified. But I delivered the third one. The doctor didn't show up. Had a double placenta. Nicole. Now, Nicole then, the only reason Nicole was born is that I could not stand much more of the agony. And I thought if I had a baby, that would make me last another 5 years. So I did. Same with Tracy, the first one. She didn't want to work. I said, well, you're having a baby. She said, a married lady doesn't work. I said, you're not a lady. But, in there. She fucking loved it. Absolute domination. I treated her like shit. I never kissed her. Anyhow, by 1977 we had moved to Cornell in northern British Columbia. Now the point being, we now have absolute proof that these are 444.3 via Magellan, which I'll send you a copy of, if you want. So I just give them the coordinates, they measure it out, he's right. And they've not been able to prove me wrong, which is what the mathematician said to whoever it was. Who was it?
Nicholas. What was his name? The Greek mathematician. 6 years at university. Ben. Ben and Dana.
Yeah.
Dinner party.
Yeah. So he tells Ben that I am him. Mathematically.
Mathematically.
Cannot be faulted. And he goes and takes the equipment, pulls it all out.
Oh,
So he's now exposed as a demon.
yes.
So this is what we did. We exposed the mongrel. Next thing we get a phone call or whatever it was from Dane saying that he's getting death threats or something
No, the children.
from the kids.
The children were being harassed at school.
Yeah.
So for their sake, take down the lid, which we
But I mean, the point is the kids saw it all.
it is.
And they know that their kids, these two boys, God bless them, nice kids, their father's an arsehole. He would stop Christ. He would stop Christ coming to the earth because it's not his Christ. So naturally your mother's not pleased with me. So I then expose your sisters. You got to bash your head in with a cricket bat at Don Bradman. Isn't it? It's like taking the cue of Walter Lindgren and bashing you to death with it. That's what they were plotting to do. Why? Because Adam had saved your grandmother, his grandmother's life. It's just worth a fortune, right? I tell your mother to put the money not into where she's going to put it into a housing loan. Paid off by the kids.
Yeah, that was
So she goes into with Dane. Loses a lot. Then the superannuation's taken away anyhow. She ends up on the dole. A woman who was a millionaire. So I rip all these things together. Here's one, 222 pounds on other planets. I am the same area as the shrouded terrain. So if you take off the 6666 for the Lord, which is in another number we've already done, it's 687 equals Mars solar year, and the 286, which is another that is derived from this, is over 4 times divided into 144, is 286. And on it goes. So I weigh on all of the planets that lined up in my daughter's birthday in 2004, the area of the shrouded terrain. Hello, and we've got a photostat copy of the original medical for my driver's license, for a chauffeur's license, I think it was, or renewal, chauffeur, driving taxi. So, like, did I not blab to everybody got in a cab? That rhymes, doesn't it? So here it is the actual photostat copy that I got. 6 foot 2 inches tall, 222 pounds. That's what I am. I am that I am. Then I got a blow up of it. You see it's not a forgery. Why would we forge in here? What's the fucking difference? That's what I weigh now, isn't it? So the date was August the 8th, 1993. That's the same date that Messier discovered the Great Comet in 1769. Adding 88888 days gives you December the 21st, 2012, Australia time, which is around his birthday, of course. I was 49.57 years old on August the 8th, 1993. Mark 1532. Let, O Christ, 5547, and the King 935 of Israel descend now from the cross, that we may see and believe, and they that were crucified 4957 with him reviled him. Okay. 4957 is the point. Were crucified with him. They reviled him. The next slide is the Jupiter's distance average to the sun. 77.7 million miles. And there it is from the internet. Kilometres, sorry. Average distance, which is 483 million miles, which is slightly below the top of the pyramid in feet. Now they're putting a distance in miles width of the planet, 88846. In actual fact, it's 88888 infinity. You know? Like, do you think I'd miss that? Like, they're full of shit. So now show the distances around the 3 homes where I was born, where I lived with Michelle, and where Alain was born. Alain's latitude means anointed Christ, Messiah in Hebrew, Mashiach, or Christ Messiah. And in Greek, it's anointed. Christ. Total distance for the three sides, is 1471, which is to beget children. But from my birth to Ireland to Michelle, where I lived with her, 777.7 kilometres, which is of course 2127, the age difference between Rhiannon and Nicole. And that's why I decided to have Nicole.
Mm.
Get in there. I was back in bed. The reason I was compelled to bring forth Nicole on November the 2nd, 1977 is because she is 777 days older than Michelle's daughter Rhiannon in years. This is 2.127, and Michelle was 32.75 years old when she was born. The distance from my birth location to Ireland is the home is 13.13 years, is 777.7 kilometres, then back to my birth home, 1471 kilometres, and so to bring forth children in Greek. Michelle was raised in Melbourne. The distance to the South Pole from that address, 93 Dundas Road, Preston, is 3134 nautical miles, and that number is the coming divine judgment of Christ Maranatha. The next slide of the dimensions from the Grand Gallery to the far wall of the King's Chamber. Genetically, the antechamber at 116.26 could not be passed until a genetic key was present. Isaiah 22:22. That's my body weight. Add with a hamburger. Add the three distances, wall, copper, ceiling and illumination is 31101, and is the value of the 7 royal names of 1 Chronicle 5:13. The 7 names are a total of 31101 and an average of 4443. The word God is found in 3,877 verses 4,443 times, which is the distance between the two homes I built and conceived children in Canada. 537 number, if you take from my birth location to the height latitude, which is 5813 kilometres from the South Pole, then you go across 537.0278 kilometres, it is Nell Street, which is on 31680 kilometre circumference around the earth. So it goes on, married my wife in Palestine, but was an idiot and could not conceive of who I was then or now, and as we were Essenes, the law of marriage were dependent on bringing forth a baby. She was barren, and my task was to leave a descent that would eventually link genetically to my second birth. From my birth home to the South Pole is 3875 miles. That is a number of comforter, being Yahweh, who is the Holy Ghost, and Jesus would teach mankind all things that is itself falls on deaf ears, as the Christian world, Baphomet Bible, has deceived all Christians. Daunting as this is, the Iranians are an ancient noble people. They have always followed righteousness. They overcame Babylon by diverting the river of Babel that flowed through the city. The waters flowed under the iron gates, but with river dry, and as a party raged in the palace, the army marched under the gates on the riverbed from either end of the city and took the city without violence. It was the Iranian Persians who, via King Cyrus, had decreed to rebuild the destroyed temple in Jerusalem for the good God of Daniel, Yahweh. The Jews in Jerusalem stopped the construction. Then, in 457 BC, they were able to start after asking the Persians to assist, who searched the records and found Cyrus had decreed some 100 or so years later. Before many years had passed, the temple finally built. Solomon's temple had been replaced by the temple of Yahweh, and is why I made a whip and chased the Jews out, making my father's house an abomination, selling doves, goats and sacrificing. Being money changers, so although the temple was to the father Yahweh, the Pharisees had taken over under Herod and Rome. Today Jews bob back and forth on the Wailing Wall and where it is not Solomon's temple but Yahweh. The decree still stands as Isaiah predicted Cyrus would do so. This was over 100 years before King Cyrus was born. In fact, Isaiah died 118 years before King Cyrus was born. This is the situation in Jerusalem today, that the Iranians will honour the decree to rebuild the temple of Yahweh, eliminate all demonic, evil, devil, Christian, Baphomet worship, and restore the world to a place of paradise. On December the 11th, 2011, the solar system crossed back into the northern side of the Milky Way galaxy. We are in the first year of the heavenly realm where creation occurred and are moving northward at 69,000 kilometres per hour. Therefore, the Jews cannot detonate nuclear bombs. The Jews are totally demonic. They appear to be benevolent, but once the synagogue is members only, our spies have revealed that every Jew has a task. You will find they are planning to use the situation in Israel as a diversion for another every possibility influential situation. They covertly target our families to destroy the family unit. The ancient Colburn Bible out of Glastonbury, where I taught from the time not accounted for by the Bible. In the Colburn you can read the ways of real men and true women. They, the sons and daughters of God, preserve and will be established the family unit. The Jews, via porn, homosexuality, movies, media, news, etc., under every evil, demonic, foul control, as predicted by Saint Adolf Hitler. The Hindu Vedas predicted when I would be born and die in Jerusalem by name, and that I was Yahweh, the soul of Jesus. Therefore, I said, the Father and I are one. If you have seen me, you have seen the Father. So my task was to marry a harlot, produce children, and find Mary Magdalene, a brainless, vindictive, spineless, accused of a woman, but genetically had produced her daughter. That is part of the genetic key of impossible manipulation by man or the devil within, to independently open the key of the house of David. I returned from Canada, found Mary Magdalene on May the 11th, 1997, exactly 8 years after I left Australia for Canada in 1989. May the 11th. The Canadians now say there is no way that our route back and forth into Canada can be accounted for because they don't keep records. So in 1989, May the 11th, therefore, it was impossible to achieve the children's statistics of age differences or marry to me, 1162.6 days. Daughter's 1 to her daughter is at 11.626 years, or my age when I married the harlot, 1162.6 weeks. The best way to comprehend it is to challenge of sorts, setting the demonic world by the Jews to forbid Christ, Protocol 14, the stupidest thing they could have possibly have done, of the learned elders of Leonard. Oh, it shows you how stupid they are, not learned. They fell for it. The dumb bastards. Here we go. Got the altar to the Lord, got the 11626, pyramid inches wide, royal cubits, etc. Hitler has been demonised as a monster, yet many good Jews meet every year to reminisce the good days in the 5 camps, of the wonderful time they had protected from the bombs of the Allies under the Zionist Churchill. 40,000 Germans were burnt alive in Dresden in 20 minutes. The total death toll was 135,000. No mention of this as a Holocaust. The problem remains that the allowing a synagogue to operate in every nation, again by order of Moses, which they wrote into the fucking scriptures themselves, which is the Torah, I will utterly remove them off the face of the earth unless they bow to me, but for the average Jew, unaware of the Vivat's secret agenda, will be allowed to remain. Get free pass. Incidentally, I am far less benevolent than Iran. So you're probably better off doing what Iran says. St. Bernard's convent was destroyed when expressways were built through it, intentionally, as the Freemasons know, where I was reborn and attended school. St. Bernard's Catholic Convent, August the 31st, 1950, 12:15 p.m, play lunchtime. I was 2424 days old, 2 boys about 9 years of age, I 6.366 years old. One led Jesus was a Pharisee, the other said no, a Sadducee. Overhearing them, I immediately went into a rage, ran between them, ready to fight, screaming Jesus was an Essene. Suddenly I was back in time, sitting on the 3rd step of a synagogue, examining the worn edges of the steps. To my left, a large, dark, timber arched door. I had grown up in Egypt, where the sons of God had built all of Egypt to perfection. The line of Seth, married women who were angels, perfect as they remain in Iran and Palestine today. Down the dusty road some 40 feet, Mary was calling out to me, Jesus, come. And I got it in Aramaic, or in Persian. I ran down the slight incline to her side, looking up to her on my right. She was wearing black, her hood over her head, shielding the sun. Tall and slim, perhaps 21 years of age, she said, which is, I have something to tell you. If the Jews find out we are Essene, they will kill us. It was a Thursday, as said, around noon during lunch. The star above was YBS 4282 in Greek. Predict, say already, foretell. Matthew 24:25. Then it tells in Persian. Then Arabic. I was tired. We had been walking for weeks, looking back. Mary had said what she had. For my father, Joseph, he had walked out of the synagogue with two smaller men, rabbis wearing black, long beards. Joseph was a huge man, his hair pulled back, full grey beard, perhaps 45 years or more. He had his arms around the two men's shoulders. He was wearing a full-length grey garment, and down one side, his left, a strip woven down the full length of the garment, 4 inches wide perhaps. Two small lines, red, then black, then dark grey, and the two lines black, then red. The central part was slightly darker, like the sky is when you're looking at a rainbow, and the second rainbow appears. The reflection on either side are lighter than the central area, and reversed. Turning back, Mary and I continued. I looked towards the town. It appeared grey and dusty, with no high buildings. It's Nazareth. Looking at the word Nazareth, keeping in mind Wiki is a Zionist online encyclopedia that will only relate facts that has passed the Zionist criteria of preventing any information that may promote truth of Christ. Protocol 14, we will forbid Christ. Then it's in Hindi, we will forbid Christ. Says that Nazareth is not mentioned in pre-Christian texts and appears to in many different Greek forms in the New Testament. There is no consensus regarding the origin of the name. One conjecture holds that Nazareth is derived from 1:7 of the Hebrew words of branch, namely Nasa, and alludes to the prophetic messianic works in the book of Isaiah 11:1, from Jesse's roots a branch, Nasa, will bear fruit. Then it's saying the same thing in it's like Hindi. And it goes on to all these different languages. Then it has Isaiah 11:1 in looks like Aramaic, or in the book of Isaiah 11:1 we have every seventh letter adds to 888. The Greek gematria for the name Jesus 11:1 is 11th of January 1944, my rebirth, as predicted by Isaiah's 2300 days. Then we have the gematria, what it means, showing 11:1. Then it goes to 9:6 and does the same thing, saying the same thing in, looks like it's Persian. Then we've got a church in Nazareth on the site of Joseph's workshop in 1891. That's how they know it's where the workshop was. They preserved it. Then we've got a historic photo of Mary's well. And it's got the coordinates 3242 and 3518. Light of Jah. To expire or to extinguish fire, light, anger, go, put out, quench, and so on. As said, we had been walking from Egypt. I was 2424 days old, which is Jesus in Greek. Tired, resting on the steps of the synagogue, looking down at the area. The building was in an edge of the hill, Nazareth in the distance. With Google Earth, I located the highest point on a line with Egypt, 3376 by 35939 7 east, 485 metres above sea level. which is the highest spot where they put the synagogue. 485 feet as the same number that transferred to Magellan GPS software is precisely accurate, measured to the Great Pyramid from my school in 1950, because the star's situation was 5454, star's duration for that day. 7783 nautical miles in Hebrew, shog, to run after, which is what I did, run after my mother Mary. Then it's in, looks like Persian, Syriac, Chinese. It's got plotting the stars, it shows all durations, which you look up with the software I've got and I can give anybody. So then it's got the distance from the pyramid, 5454 minutes, 7783 nautical miles in Hebrew, to run after, which is what I did. Ran after my mother Mary, 5454 inches is 4545 feet. In the next slide, the solar eclipse of January 25th, 1944 and 2012 being 888 and 942 miles from my crib, 105 Rothschild Avenue, Sydney, Australia. At this point, it's got to be a holy shit. Like for any human being has written this. The star's duration was 5454 minutes, therefore, if they can prove me wrong on one point, I'll take me in the fucking marble bag and go home. Matter of fact, they nab all the marbles. So I've lost them. Point is, I'm prompting these people to kill me. So the more dramatic it gets, the more in trouble they are, and the more the angel of death approaches them. There's no escape. They're in the crushing, threshing floor of the first layer of the first year, up until December the 11th. This year is the end. Cut time short. I haven't got time to fuck around. Now, the distance from the January eclipse to the South Pole back up to the 11th month, 14th day this year contains an area of 45454 square kilometres, which is the height of the pyramid in feet. Okay, now we go to the area of Australia in square miles, 2942292, expressed as latitude, like the speed of light is, as a decimal point. The longitude is 4545 kilometres from the monastery of St. Catherine. The Great Pyramid is height in feet. Back to this 4545. You see what I'm saying? The longitude and latitude are put in as the area of Australia, and the distance to St. Catherine's is 454.45 fucking kilometres.
You've got it all covered there.
So now we go to the eclipse I said that we haven't actually looked at, was the 25th again, degrees rather, by West 113, so that's your Lord number and it's your sacred, how many royal cubits there are in the width of the antechamber. And my height times 1944 is the height of the pyramid with the capstone in place. So we're looking at July the 11th, 2010. The distance from that eclipse point to my birthplace is 4848 nautical miles. At 90 degrees heading. That in itself is an impossibility, but it's bloody close. It's so far away, see. In addition, the distance from St. Margaret's maternity is to the South Pole is 387 miles, which is the word God, word verse total, 942, blah, 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 and blah, and blah. So we now put that into, looks like Syriac. Now it's got the distance between the South Pole up to where I was born, back to around the South St. Margaret's Hospital and back to the South Pole is 3877 miles, and the area is 942 square miles. 0.4. That's in, looks like Arabic. Therefore, would it not be reasonable to assume we are all in hell and Judaism is the root cause? It has to be stamped out utterly. The Christian world is totally Zionist, subdivided into 36,000 different denominations. Its demonic Bibles confuse the masses and preach you need not do anything. Sit back on your fat ass or fat blurter and let Jews massacre the Palestinians while sending donations to the evil bastards wanting to destroy Iran. I am totally rejected by every church. All are Freemason, including the Vatican. For decades I have revealed genetic factors of my family to them, and as they are all of the true royal family, the key of the house of David has to be the most royal man alive. But do they believe? No, not one idiot. And have rejected me, this is my entire family, as an odd, righteous man obsessed with details and truth, so must be mad. The average human mind, dull and slow because they don't want their own personal details revealed, say a highly intelligent genius must be mad to analyse every facet of existence in some insane quest to change the world. An impossibility. The Quran was begun by the angel Gabriel talking to Muhammad. His descendants, minor prophets, contributed to its formation. However, most were beheaded and or hanged. Then, like the Bible, Rome organised a manipulation, and today we have Saudi Arabia beheading women, cutting off limbs. They are Muslim Zionists. Must be destroyed. So then we have that written out in, could be Coptic. Then it goes to Hindi. Daniel was spoken to by Gabriel, who is my angel of God. In the book of Daniel, who predicts via the hand of Daniel, the 2300 day and the 70-week prophecy. It predicts King Cyrus of Persia would rebuild the temple to Yahweh in Jerusalem, which began after a long period of resistance by the non-Yahweh priests, as they were Pharisees and Sadducees, invaders from Babylon that had been kicked out of Babylon by Daniel. Forbidden by Moses to enter the land of the Canaanites, the area being the Holy Lands of Israel and its offspring, the New Testament. The land of the Canaanites worshipped Asherah and Yahweh. The Mishnah and Babylonian Galilee is today the Talmud, and behind the Zionist learned elders of Zion, their Holy Lands, was taken away from Israel by Moses, Deuteronomy 32:16 to 32:30. That's now in, it's like it could be Canaanite. They sacrificed unto devils, not to God, to gods whom they knew not, to new gods that came newly up, whom your fathers feared not, or the rock that begat thee, thou art unmindful and hast forgotten God that formed thee. And when the Lord saw it, he abhorred them, because of the provoking of his sons and his daughters, the sons and daughters of God of Seth. And he said, I will hide my face from them, I will see what their end shall be, for they are a very froward generation, children whom is no faith. They have moved me to jealousy with that which is not good, not God. They have provoked me to anger, and their vanities, and I will move them to jealousy with those which are not a people. I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation. For a fire is kindled in my anger, and shall burn unto the lowest hell, and shall consume the earth with her increase, and set on fire the foundations of the mountains. I will heap mischief upon them, I will spend mine arrows upon them. They shall be burnt with the hunger, and devoured by burning with heat, and with bitter destruction. I will also send the teeth of beasts upon them, with the poisons of serpents of the dust. They swarm, and the sword without. They terror and terrorize within. Shall they destroy both the young man and the virgin, the suckling also with the man of grey hairs? I said I would scatter them into corners, I would make the remembrance of them cease from among men, were it not that I feared the wrath of the enemy, lest their adversaries should behave themselves strangely, and lest they should say, our hand is high, and the Lord hath not done all this. For thou art a nation void of counsel, neither is there any understanding in them. Oh, that they were wise, that they understood this, that they would consider their latter end, which is total abomination and destruction. Then it's written again in, looks like Egyptian, or Hindi. No, Hindi. And in the middle is a red stripe. Moses had led them for 40 years until finally stood overlooking the Holy Land and forbid them from crossing the Jordan. But they did, and thus started the abominations leading of the evils of Solomon. Now, I'll go fast forward because there's a lot of it. So we have the Islamic faith and Mahmud Ahmadinejad is saying Jesus was crucified and raised from the dead. Then you got the foundation of this evil in America. What cannot lie are solar eclipses. As you know, a solar eclipse passes over a nation, but there is no sound reason to measure to my rebirth location, unless the 25 number is 25,000 miles, the same as a sword in the side of Jupiter. Read out aloud what you're doing, Madhu.
No, where you had to well, I mean, I've known it long, but you have said over and over you would not send a private to do unless you're willing to do it. Well, this, you had to come and fulfill this law. This is the law that you had to fulfill.
Right.
They're talking about the law of the Torah law. It's total bullshit.
Law,
this is the law that you fulfilled.
Yeah.
You had to show them. This is why you said not one jot or tittle will be removed from your law.
That's right.
Because there was not a man alive who had been able to do it. So you came to show them by living, this is the way you need to live. I mean, I'll read this to you and I just want to get it out for Adam.
I got a photograph here of this huge statue coming out of the side of the volcano, and beside it is his wife. And they've left off carving her, but it was work in progress. You can see the nose starting to shape and the eyes, the mouth and the chin, and the body hasn't been shaped as yet. They missed it. Let's see, 888, right?
Yes.
It is. So with these scriptures that I'm doing here, I'm putting them in between the slides. And here's the priests who are looking with their eyes back in place because the archaeologists found them all scattered and washed over with a tsunami at 250 feet away. And put them all back in position, these huge things. Put their hats back on, put their eyes back in and their ears back on. The idea was that they lost their eyesight, but didn't see God coming. They lost their hearing, they couldn't hear the word of God. They lost their mouth, they couldn't say anything. And they lost their authority because their hats were washed up.
Mm.
So here's these two huge statues coming up. But the ones that's going down into the sea are in all over the place positions like this. And they're in the ground 30 feet. So there's no way in the world that that could be any other thing that intentional.
Mm.
Even a tsunami wouldn't wash them over.
Mm.
So they're running to the sea terrified. And with the sunlight behind them, you see the sun, that's the coming up. So it gives you a precise moment, right? You can work it out. So then we've got what is overlooked, the book's missing, and the Aramaic Peshitta. New Testament has the word of God as Allah, H-L-O or O-L-H, Matthew 5:33. Your oath to Yahweh, but shall complete, fulfill in your oath shall you lie, that not to those in the past that it had been said you have heard again.
Yeah, you just read that backwards.
Have I got to read it backwards? Again, heard, have you said, been, had it that passed thee in those two, not that lie. You shall oath your in, fulfill, complete, shall but Yahweh to oath your.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, you read it from that way, but it's a trick.
It's wonderful, isn't it?
Fulfill your oath, you shall not lie, but
so then I got it in another language or two, and saying 34 of Allah, it is for the throne by heaven, not swear you shall say, do not unto you I say, but I. So I say it backwards.
I say unto you.
Is that what it is? I say unto you, do not, you shall say, swear.
You shall not, yeah.
You shall not swear.
You shall not swear an oath.
By heaven.
Yes.
For the throne it is of Allah.
For it is the throne of Allah.
For it is
you
the
shall
throne
not
of
swear
Allah.
by heaven, for it is the throne of Allah.
Oh, I wrote that.
Well done.
What?
You wrote this.
Okay.
Listen to this. Oh.
Go ahead. No, this is where it goes to the rejection of the corner, 11822, and how it all ties into distance to our land.
Okay. Alright, to those who unite their spirit with mine, and to those who are in harmony but not united, I increase that which they have and provide that which they lack. I turn a like countenance to all men. My love for them remains constant. But those who join me in devotion to my cause are truly in me and I in them. This is my everlasting promise unto me. He who walks with me serving my cause shall not perish. So join your spirit to mine, giving me your confidence and trust. And thus united in a harmonious relationship, you will come to know the supreme goal. However, too rarely do the ways of men conform to my plan, and the ranks of those who serve are too thin. Therefore I shall call forth leaders from among men and send out the clarion call to service. I shall seek out men who will serve me diligently and loyally. They will be men of good will, of a friendly nature. They will be kind and compassionate, men who can love deeply and truly, whose steadfastness is the same in pleasure and affliction, whose resolve remains equally unbroken in the sweet embrace of good fortune, as under the harsh blows of misfortune. I will send men who are fair and just, proud and resolute, but these qualities mean nothing unless they also have courage and resolution, fortitude and tenacity. I shall seek the man who is himself ever seeking, who seeks to unravel the riddle of life, one whose determination is strong, who detests wickedness and delights in the good, whose heart and inner vision reach out for enlightenment. His tranquility will remain unshaken under stress, and within his heart will be a haven of peace beyond the reach of excitement and anger. He will be a lover of wisdom and a seeker of truth. He who is wise, who remains calm when others lose their self-control. He who is clear-headed under stress, who enjoys the challenge of the task. That man is mine. He who labours uncomplainingly, who disdains to satisfy deforming lusts, whose spirit remains the same under the temptations of honours or the pressure of disgrace. He who is free from the shackles of unworthy earthly attachments, who retains his balance under praise or blame, who can shoulder his own burdens, whose spirit is calm, silent and strong under all circumstances. He who can bear the responsibilities of life and the obligations of love. That man is mine. I am the God of inspiration. I am the God of love. That's what you fulfill as Jesus. This is the law.
So you have to forgive them.
They haven't had the law.
You got the sane asylum and fix them up.
It's been stolen from them and replaced with the Torah. That's what they think is the law of God. All of you are out worship and you're bobbing and spells and smells and, feasts and the synagogue and the studying of the Torah. That's what they think is the law.
We're getting cashews, are we?
Are there any left?
No.
Let us see. Oh. What are you looking for? Cashew? Some of that's in the bag too? No?
We used the lost in the little butter, so I haven't seen
Piece of cake, Dan, with milk, it's good. Oh, I got some milk here.
Piece of cake? Piece of cake?
Oh.
Piece of cake? Ooh.
This thing's determined to make its they're playing with it, so.
Okay. Would you like butter on your cake today?
Yep. Sounds good, Missy.
Pardon?
Sounds good.
Oh, baby, baby, the wild world.
They're playing with this PowerPoint. Yeah.
This last bit is, seems to be tampered with. Think a word.
The one I've been working on is missing. It's quite a good one. This last one was so potent, I've taken it out. Nothing might do. I'm showing the subterfuge in the measurements of Jupiter and Saturn. Beautiful cake. Come on.
Oh, you good bird.
I'm getting used to it.
Good. Sure, it's so good for you.
I mean, the fact that it's caught in my throat and I can't swallow it, but it doesn't matter. Oh, it's lovely. I'd say it's slightly better than the French cook I had in Coombs.
French cook you had where?
Coombs.
Oh, at the pub.
Yeah, the Waldorf Bay Astoria. 77 million kilometres is the distance time between Nicole and Rihanna. There's a verse in the Bible talking about a woman farting, you know.
A woman what?
Farting.
Which verse is that though?
Let's see if I can find it.
About passeth the wind?
Something like that.
Or breaketh?
Well, like a woman giving birth and then another one saying, or like blurting and losing the pressure of your stomach. Oh, it's in there. Isaiah.
A woman in travail.
To share in their testimony about a series of events that occurred on Mount Ararat on the island. They are a combination of my personal experiences as well as documented intelligence reports of the civil war. These events occurred in Turkey and clearly have an impact on history, science,